Alright, I'm going to be showing how to do some fairly simple decorative inlay. I use this on my walking canes and other projects that I work on, but today I'm going to be working on a nameplate that'll go on a cedar chest. I start out with a piece of walnut. It's a little bit thicker than 1/4 of an inch. I got a piece of American holly here, and it's a little bit thinner than 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to inlay the holly inside the walnut, just sort of like that. So I start out, I center my walnut, my holly, get it just like I want it. I get it centered up. I use a very sharp pencil. And trace around the part that you're going to inlay. That leaves me an outline that I can go by as I go to mill this section out. Now to mill this out, I'm going to use my drill press, and I'm also going to use a standard Dremel cutter. This is a flat cutter, flat cylindrical cutter that you get at Walmart. You can get them at Home Depot, about $5. So to do this, I go in, I measure my the inlay piece, and it's about 205 thousandths thick. So I'm gonna set my caliper at 205 thousandths, and I'm gonna measure that depth on my cutter and roughly mark it. It's not gonna, it doesn't have to be very precise. It just has to be where you can see about what the 200 thousandths depth is. When I mill this down, I'm going to try to mill approximately 200 thousandths deep. If I go a little deeper, it doesn't matter. If I don't go quite deep enough, it doesn't matter. Alright, I'm going to go over and set this up on the drill press, and we'll take a look at how that works. Okay, here we are at the drill press, and I've got my cutter set in there. I've got the speed of the drill press fairly fast. It's around 2300 RPM. So first of all, I'm just going to come down, and I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to come down, and I'm going to kind of drill a hole into this thing to the approximate depth of the piece that I'm going to inlay. And I'll just keep drilling until I get it to about the right depth. So here we go with that. And here I'm kind of using the mark that I made on my cutter tool as a guideline. Now I'm going to pull it out and measure the depth, and it's just about right. I'm probably 15 thousandths off, but that's close enough. Now I'm going to put it back under the drill press, and I'm going to raise the table up to the point where it's bottoming out in the bottom of that hole. I'll tighten my table so it's not moving on me. There we go. Now, and I gotta be careful when I start this up because I don't want it to sling it around on me. Here we go. We're gonna give it a try. There we go, it's working pretty well. So now at this point, I'm basically going to move the piece around and use this as a milling cutter to mill out the sections that I don't want. This will take you a while, and you got to work with it, work slowly. You don't want to burn it too bad, but there will be a little burning going on. And as you work through this, eventually you'll get it to where it's milled out. Alright, I was getting a little too much burning, so I switched to a better cutter, a newer cutter, a little sharper. And you see, you just keep slowly working it. You'll get a larger and larger area. Just don't get very close to the edge. You're going to do that the last. You'll be very careful as you go around the edges so that you don't go too large. Basically, you just keep working it. Blow the sawdust out of it as you go. And you just keep working it until you get to the end of it. As you approach your line, you're going to take it a little slower. You want to keep this burr kind of pulled away. Keep it off of there so that you can see the line and see what you're doing. This is the time to take your time. Don't get in a hurry. You want to get as close to the line as possible, but not go past it. When you get down to the last, just take very light final passes till you get it. You can always adjust the piece of inlay to be a little bit smaller if you have to. The big thing, you don't want to go bigger. There we go. We got it inletted, ready to put in our inlay. So we'll take it out of the drill press and we'll go over here and do that. Okay. I found out that it doesn't quite fit the way I want it to. So instead of trying to reset up and work on this anymore, I'm just going to go to my bench grinder. And I'm going to grind this down to fit this. So here we go, trying that. Take a little off, try it. Not enough, do a little bit more. Very light pressure. almost got it. Got a little bit right here in this area that I've got to work on. Just about there. That should do it. Alright, it'll fit in. I've still got a little bit of gap around it, but whenever I glue it in there, I'm going to take care of the gap. So we'll go and get ready to glue our piece of inlay inside. Okay, now I'm ready to glue my piece of inlay into the base piece here. So to do that, I'm going to use epoxy. I like to use 5-minute epoxy, Gorilla brand 5-minute epoxy. Any type of 5-minute epoxy will work. Just make sure it's a clear epoxy. And I'm going to get one of my handy dandy little mixing bowls here and put a little bit of epoxy into the top there. You don't need a whole lot. I'm also going to add some walnut dust, sanding dust, to the epoxy. This will color it the color of the walnut and help it look a lot better. There we go. Add a fair amount of walnut dust and mix it up really good. Walnut dust will also strengthen it a little bit, but in an inlay like this, you're not that much concerned about it. Mainly, I'm trying to fill the gap, and it will help minimize shrinkage, which will also be a good thing when you're doing inlay. Now it's mixed up very good. I'm going to take a wad of it and drop it right here in the middle. Spread it out, get it up against the sides, but try not to get it out over the edges at this point. Some of this is going to squeeze out whenever I put the piece of inlay in there, and that's okay. That's actually what I want it to do. Alright, so I've got my base piece full of glue. I'm ready to put the inlay in. I'm just going to drop it in there and push it down deep until the glue starts to squeeze out around the edge, and I want it to squeeze out quite nicely like that. That ensures that I've got a good fill on the gaps around there. Once that happens, you can take an old credit card or whatever and rake off the excess. Let it dry. Typically let it dry about an hour, let it cure about an hour, and after it cures, you'll sand this down and you'll be ready for final engraving. Okay, here it is after the epoxy has cured for about an hour. Then we're going to take it over and do the final sanding, and we'll be done. Alright, in this case we've got a couple of big clumps here, there and there. So I'm going to rough sand them on the belt, then I'm going to do the final sanding on the disc.
Rough sanding.
It will get away from you. And if it gets away from you, try not to sand off the end of your fingernail. Okay, there we are. Finally got it inlaid, and it is ready for engraving